You're listening to the Ballwin Life podcast, episode number 10. Welcome back to another episode of the Ballwin Life podcast. My name is Kirsten Hostetler, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communication for the City of Ballwin. And I'm joined once again by Officer Scott Stevens of the Ballwin Police Department. And we're really excited today to welcome another interview onto the show.
Yeah, today we brought in Jim Link, who is the Superintendent of the Street Department, or Public Works as we call it. And we sat down and talked with him about a bunch of topics and philosophies on how he runs his department and just the amazing amount of work they do.
Yeah, it really was a great interview, and hearing multiple times the amount of projects that they're juggling, and you would be surprised to know how few people they have in their department to be able to juggle all those different projects. So it really is an impressive interview and gives you a glimpse of a little bit about how Jim makes everything run so smoothly.
Yeah, and after having him in here for this time, we've already decided that we're bringing him back in the fall to talk about some more issues that are upcoming. So hopefully you like hearing him because he's coming back.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the interview. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Ballwin Life podcast. We're really excited to have Jim Link, the Superintendent of Streets, with us today. So welcome to the podcast, Jim.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't we just start with a little bit about your background and who you are, how long you've been with the city, et cetera.
I've been with the City of Ballwin for 10 and a half years. I've been in Public Works for 21 years now. I formerly worked at the City of Kirkwood and the City of Chesterfield.
And I really want to talk a lot today about your philosophy working in the Ballwin Public Works Department. Something you're really well known for around the city is just your incredible customer service mindset. So talk to us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, I mean, customer service is number one. I mean, it's how we operate. It's how we function. I tell my guys a lot of times there was a twilight zone, or I think it was Twilight Zone, where the little blue men, they would actually come through time and they would build time in this little scenario. And then when time moved on, these little blue men would actually build the next set and the next set and the next set. So they're like building buildings, streets, sidewalks, and everything, and I kind of reference that quite a bit with the men, that we a lot of times we're not seen, but we're there. So yeah, I mean, we're like the quiet, silent people that get stuff done.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the key.
Yeah.
I completely agree. In the police department, we call you guys all the time asking for anything from a cone to there's a problem with this shrub, it's blocking the road. Can you take a look at it? Tell us what you think. I mean, our departments work incredibly close together, and
yes,
I think that customer service philosophy is something that is just we notice from our end on a daily basis with the people in your department.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what I mean, Parks Department, Police Department, whatever you guys need, we help. I mean, if it's an emergency situation, we sometimes drop what we're doing and we provide traffic control. Or if it's a parks event like Ballwin Days or a run that you have, we supply personnel in that direction as well. Not only all of those functions, but construction, and then leaf removal, snow plowing, keeping the city safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it's not just an external customer service with the residents and answering, but you're so good at that too. I mean, answering emails and questions, like anything that comes by your desk, if there's a problem, you're going to fix it. But it's also true, like you said, Scott, internally for the other departments. Like you guys just are the go-to department.
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, the residents are important, and when they call, they don't want to just get a message, or if they do leave a message, they want a call back. They want to know what's going on, because their problem is important to them, and their problems are important to us. And the same with the alderman. The alderman, if they express a concern with their alderman and the alderman pass it on to us, we take it with the utmost importance, just like if they would call on the phone. We want to solve that problem fast, quick, and move on to the next problem.
I've really noticed that with you guys. You guys are out there trying to find a solution to a problem, even when it might not necessarily be a public works problem. That's where you bring in these other departments within the city, or even the external resources. Can you, while we're talking about all the people out actually doing this, what's the structure like of the Public Works Department?
Are you talking about the, well, there's myself, and then I have a supervisor that is in charge of the construction operation, and then I have a supervisor that's in charge of support services, and that would be fleet maintenance, and fleet maintenance, and he's in charge of signs as well. And then underneath that we have 3 crew leaders, and then a sign technician, and then we have the asphalt crew, concrete crew, tree crew. So it's about 30 people total.
Very cool. It sounds like not a lot of people for the amount of work that we see get done here. It's
we have to shift gears quite often. So sometimes people will see, like I just got a call yesterday where they haven't seen us on Windcliff for about 2 weeks, and we will have to adjust to the weather, or we have to adjust to what situations have come up. Like when Ballwin days hit, I already had roads milled off, and I had to pull a few people to set up for Ballwin days. And it's not that we missed that road or anything, or we just had to reallocate our employees to work in different areas. And we're out on Windcliff and Royal Oaks today.
That just seems like a job that would be constant. I mean, always having to shuffle people around and, respond to what's happening, because things could happen overnight, like, for example, a water main break, and
Correct.
You need to pull a crew over to, offer support to the water company on that, or, there's probably that stuff happening all the time.
All the time. I mean, it could be a deceased deer in the roadway that we have to pick up. We've had 2 water main breaks in the last 2 weeks. It could be the heat. The heat is a big factor. I mean, Mother Nature in itself is the hugest factor in our business. And we may try to do heat relief in the afternoons, where we're doing some of the hot asphalt or concrete work in the mornings. And then on days where it may reach 80, 88 degrees, we're doing it all day long, what I tell the supervisors and the crew leaders a lot of time is, they need to have a plan for the next day on what you're going to do for the next day. But you need to have a plan for if it's sunny, if it's going to rain, if, there's other events that may happen, or, traffic or other unforeseen events. So that way we can shift gears and, go into whatever mode we need to.
So you guys are essentially a logistics department on top of being a public works department. It is.
We are. We're not normally like just a construction company. A construction company pretty much does just construction. We are more service. We're more service oriented. So it could be anywhere from picking up debris from an accident, from a motor vehicle accident on the road. It could be a dump truck that spilled rock on the road that we've had to clean up, a deceased animal. Some deceased animals, we have a little microchip device where we will read the microchip in the pet, and we'll notify the resident that we've acquired that pet.
I had no idea that you guys could do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The police department actually has one of those for the live.
Yep, when they're found.
When they're found, and then I have one for the deceased animals that we will notify the residents that we've acquired that animal, and we will either take care of it for them, or we will give it back to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good service to have. But we do snow plowing, we do leaf collection, we sweep the streets, concrete, asphalt, signs. We're just a multifaceted department, and that's the one thing I love about Public Works is, you have different seasons here in St. Louis, so the weather is always changing and the job is always changing. So if I was stuck into a job that was repetitive every day, I'd probably get really bored with it really quick. So, I love my 30 guys, actually 29 guys and one administrative assistant. I love them all. They're all the same as me, and they all love working outdoors, and that's the actual group right there is Public Works. It's not me. It's not the city of Ballwin. It's those people right there in that group. They're all great to work with.
And so we're recording this episode in the middle of the summer, so obviously your concrete crews and asphalt crews are hard at work now, but we are on the brink of some of the other services that Ballwin is really well known for, including the leaf pickup season, and then even into the snow removal season. Ballwin is like I said, very well known for providing those services and providing them very, very well. So anything you want to add about those two services that make you guys really good at what you do?
So you're talking about leaf season and snow season.
Yes.
So let me start with leaf collection. Leaf collection is roughly about a $300,000 program. We start usually at the end of October and finish somewhere in mid-December. That changes every year. It depends on whether we've had a drought, whether we've had a lot of rain, how the season, when the leaves start to fall versus whether it'll be heavy. Sometimes they all fall at once and you've just got mounds of leaves everywhere, and then sometimes they just gradually fall, and it's a you can pick them up at relatively steady pace. So we have basically 7 maps throughout Ballwin, and 4 people on each crew, and then we also supplement ourselves with temporary laborers that help us come in and rake leaves. And those 7 crews are in their maps, and they, when they start, they do start to finish, and then they start over. Sometimes, usually around Thanksgiving or so, that's a short week, we will take the other crews and move them into an area to where we complete the city all in one sweep. So I guess that's what I need to probably reiterate is, when we start collecting leaves, everybody gets one round, and we don't move to round 2 until, every one of those maps are ready. So we'll help each other out in that area. But, you're looking at 7 leaf vacs and 14 trucks out there constantly from 7 to 3:30 Monday through Friday. It's quite a feat. And you're usually looking at they're 40-yard roll-off dumpsters, and we usually somewhere around 280 of those. The volume of leaves is about as big as our salt dome. So it's 40 feet tall and probably about 60 feet in diameter.
We'll have to probably bring you back on the show closer to the time that leaf season is happening and maybe get some more information on that, because I know it's a program people are constantly asking questions about and needing to be updated on. So.
Yeah, I think we could talk all day about leaf and snowplow. It's pretty cool how well you guys do at both of those. Just to kind of shift gears a little bit and get into some of the stuff that I think is really fun is the equipment that you have.
Yes.
What's some of your newer stuff that you've been able to acquire? I know there's been a shift. We've talked about it before on the podcast, but going from a lot of contract work to doing more in-house work. So I know you guys have had to purchase some new stuff in order to get up and running and some training, and there's a lot of things happening down there. What's got you excited?
Well, last year we acquired a concrete truck, and it's a volumetric mixer, and it's made by Cement Tech up in Indianola, Iowa. It's a very nice, very neat truck. I didn't really even know they existed until about a year and a half ago. But what it's done for us is if we went out to bid for concrete, it would cost us somewhere around $90, $95 a yard for concrete. We've reduced that amount down to about $55 a yard for concrete. And it's not just the cost savings, but it's also a time savings as well. Because like on a rain day like today, I called Fred Weber's plant this morning. We were planning on asphalting. And, if we call a concrete crew, the concrete company, they would tell us that they're not mixing today and that we couldn't pour, and we'd have to wait till tomorrow, more or less, to pour concrete. And now with the new concrete truck, we can actually decide to do that ourselves. So if it rains in the morning and they haven't had any orders come in from other companies, we can pour ourselves. And we can usually pour anywhere from, it's a 6-yard mixer. So we're testing the boundaries right now in between 18 and 24 yards of concrete a day. And when you add that up over a week's time, you're looking at 75, 80 yards a week that we're pouring, and that could be street slabs, sidewalks, and then we can also, if it's high traffic areas, we can actually turn the concrete truck up to where it's a high early concrete, so we can actually put that concrete in place and have it open within an hour.
Wow.
So concrete truck's a very, very nice machine. And it is a swap loader. Well, it's actually an Ampli-Roll system, but swap loader and Ampli-Roll are like Xerox. It's the same machine, but it allows us to take the concrete mixer off, and that same truck will put a dump truck bed on it, or we have a salt spreader, that will go onto that truck as well. So it's a multi-purpose truck.
Very cool.
Another one is the asphalt paver. We bought a paver last year, and that is starting to save us a lot of money. We saved, I believe, $32,000 last year by doing 2 streets in-house. This year, with all the projected streets that I have, we will save the entire cost, which I believe was $85,000 to buy the asphalt paver, and then we will net $16,000 above the cost. So that asphalt paver will pay for itself by the end of this year.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
anything here in the near future, it's just going to be the cost of the labor or materials to pave some of these streets.
And I will say, like, the money is one thing, and obviously it's really helpful with the Ballwin budget to keep us on track with that. But it also goes back to what we were talking about earlier with your mindset around customer service. Because when you can provide those things in-house and have a faster turnaround time and, get back to the residents who are needing these things done faster, it just makes a better
Yes.
experience for everybody.
Yes, because in the past, what we've done is we've contracted a lot of that out, and you'll have a separate company who comes in and mills off the existing asphalt that was overlaid on the road. And then in order to make it profitable, they have to do the whole series of streets. And then a lot of residents are left with a street that is under construction for 6, 8, 10. I mean, I've seen some that were 3 and 4 months long before they actually had a surface put back on their road. Where now that we have our own paver, I can actually have the grinder come in and grind off that asphalt, and then we are down there within a week or 2 of putting that surface right back on. So we've already done Ironwood and I believe Sunstone, and now we're over there on Wincliffe, Royal Oaks, and Bolero Court. So we're moving faster, quicker, faster, less impact on the residents because they're our boss. They're in my opinion number one. So.
And obviously, like Scott was asking, all the new equipment that you've been purchasing, so you can do more of these projects in-house, so you don't have to contract as many out. That wouldn't be possible without the support of the residents and the support of the Board of Aldermen as well. So can you
Correct.
talk about how they have helped make this shift possible for the residents?
Oh, well, yes. I mean, the residents have been great. The feedback we get alone that they're giving to the board and to other city staff on how fast and how quick and how pleasant their experience is with construction or snow plowing or leaf collection has been great. The board's been tremendous at giving us what we need and providing us with the equipment, and then then it's our job once we get that equipment to actually prove that we are going to be successful with the customer service and the financial end of it. The more money we save, the more money that can be put back into the roads or put into police or put into parks, anywhere in the city.
Do you want to give us a couple of updates on some of the projects you have going this summer? I know summer's always, I know you have a lot going on right now, and you talked about a couple of streets you're out working on, but some of the bigger projects that are happening this summer, a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, would love to kind of just hear from right from your mouth what's going on.
Well, right now on the asphalt crew, we are currently working on Wincliffe, and it's the asphalt portion. So Wincliffe is divided into there's a concrete portion and an asphalt portion. So the concrete portion's already been completed. The asphalt portion we're in there right now doing along with Royal Oaks. So we're in there. They've already milled off the top layer, and we're fixing the base, and then we're going to be repaving over that in the next week or so. Manor Crest just had a water main installed on it, and then we'll be in there to mill that layer off and redo that street. Ironwood has already been completed. Sunstone has been completed, so those actually have brand new asphalt surfaces on those. Bolero Court will be done with Wincliffe and Royal Oaks within the next week to 2 weeks. Old Ballwin was a big one for me because Old Ballwin, We tried to get federal funding for, but I believe if I could be misspeaking about the number, but we have 300,000 people coming in and out of the point every year.
Might even be more than that.
It might even be more
Yeah.
than that, but the point is a great place to go. It's a great place to work out. A lot of the Ballwin residents go there. A lot of people from outside of Ballwin go there. And Old Ballwin is one of the main roads that actually go to the point, and it was deteriorated. So Old Ballwin is one of going to be our prize projects this year. But we're milling off that road, and all the curb and gutter has already been done with concrete. We're milling off that surface, and it's going to be a brand new surface. Also, we're working on Old Woods Mill to complete a drainage project, so stopping water from going into residents' yards and such. The concrete crew, we've been working on the south side of Manchester Road, which is Village Meadows. We started on Kerrs Mill Trail, which is north of Manchester Road, and then Holloway Ridge Court will be, we need to get in there in the next week or so and start tearing out some select slabs in there. But I also have while the bridge is closed on Reese Road, there's a section of sidewalk we want to remove. We still have some more sidewalks to do on Henry Road. Newfield Court, we're reducing a circle. A lot of the circles in the cul-de-sacs is what I should say, not circles. Trash trucks have a hard time getting around cul-de-sacs, especially if cars are parked on the cul-de-sacs. So they end up breaking the stand-up curb on those. And so what we do is we reduce the size of the cul-de-sac and we make it a roll curb. So that way any trucks or anything that drives over the curb doesn't get damaged. And then by reducing the size, it actually allows the larger trash trucks or more cars to actually fit around there if a resident or homeowner parks their car in there. So that's Newfield Court's one of those projects. Then we have Weatherburn, Downall Green, Fairway Lake, and then Highland Ridge at Clayton. We've gotten permission from St. Louis County to redo the concrete at that intersection. And that'll probably take all season to get those done. The trees, our tree crew, we are in full ash tree removal with the emerald ash borer. So we started out with 3,000 trees to remove. I believe we removed about 300 trees last year. We're only at about 112 this year, but that's because we've had a lot of trimming that we've had to do. The tree program has gotten very popular, so we're getting a lot of work orders for tree trimming, tree removal, and such. That's been a great program. And then we have special projects that come into play, like a house demo that's going to be on Old Ballwin, and then we help the golf course out. They've got a tee box that we're helping restore on that on the golf course. And then signs. I mean, signs are an ever growing process where you're replacing signs, and stop signs are the number one important sign in Ballwin or in any city, and then ID signs for emergency traffic, knowing what's or where to go. Or actually, one of the aldermen joked about it's more important for the pizza delivery guy. So
We don't want to forget them.
You do not want to forget the pizza delivery guys. They got to know where to go to deliver the pizza. So I thought that was a good point. So.
Well, everything that you're just saying right now is bringing me back to the point that you said earlier. The amount of work that you guys do with the number of people that you have is, I mean, I knew that you did a lot of work, but listening to everything that you're listing right now is even more than I realized.
Yes, snowplow. We didn't really touch into snowplowing, but we've got a brine system now with Ballwin, and it's allowed us to, instead of on a storm where we used to use 96 tons of salt to pre-salt the city before a storm actually hits, the salt brine system, we put down about 14 to 18 tons of salt versus that 96 tons. So it allows us to do a better strategy at storm fighting. We call ourselves snow fighters or storm fighters. And now I can actually spray the streets, and as long as it's not going to rain beforehand, and the salt doesn't wash down the drain. It'll stay there for until it rains. And we're already ahead of the game where other cities who do not do that, I mean, they have to come in and they have to put in 8 hours or 12 hours of overtime to pre-salt the city, and we're already ahead of the game up to about 1 inch to possibly 2 inches. So, our snow fighting efforts they've always been great, and I think they've made them even better, and that's thanks to our aldermen as well. They allowed us to get that equipment about 3 years ago, and it's changed the game with storm fighting. So,
very neat. I know last night at the alderman meeting, you and I were sitting there, and one of the aldermen brought up a question about the use of flaggers on road construction. Those are the people with the signs, slow or stop, and they work the traffic. Can you kind of explain how that works and what your department's responsible for and so on there? Just I thought that was an interesting question brought up last night, and we were talking about it a little bit this morning as well before we started.
Yes, all of my guys are all trained in flagging operations, and we use the MoDOT program, there's certain procedures, men working one-lane road. There should be at least 2 signs before any construction project, and anytime you reduce a lane, you need traffic control. So there should be flaggers out there. Not a lot of construction companies will utilize the same procedures, although they should. You also have utilities as well, and then you have subcontractors that work for utilities. So, city governments tend to follow the book on what should be used as far as traffic control, and some contractors don't.
Well, I think it's good to know that, we are doing as much as we can in-house at Ballwin. Like, with the people that we are responsible for, the projects that we're working on, we do, like you said, we follow that to the book. But the people who are working on other projects that we aren't responsible for,
correct,
that gets kind of difficult to.
And what we'll do is, if we have a contractor out there, we're responsible for the product that they're putting in. So we will monitor and make sure that they're using the proper traffic control. But projects that we are not responsible for, it may be the water company, the gas company, or could be a cable utility. We don't monitor them, although they are supposed to use the proper procedures. We will stop and we will make suggestions, but whether they follow those suggestions, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't.
I understand. So. Yeah, it's just an interesting topic that came up last night, and one that I know we talked about. And where's the best place for people to find more information about projects, or to get a hold of you, or to get a hold of the department?
Our website, it's ballwin.mo.us. My email is actually on the website, so they can email me directly, or they can put in a request for service or request for action. Those emails actually come directly to me, so I can actually assign them out to different staff. Every email, I see every email every morning that comes in, whether it's a down limb or a sign that's twisted, or an ID sign fell, or it's non-legible, or a pothole. Potholes are huge in the wintertime, and not so much in the summertime. It's seasonally depending on how the emails come in.
Sure, and I'll make sure I link that URL up in the show notes. If you have a service request that you need to make to Jim, the direct link is ballwin.mo.us /request-service. So I'll be sure to link that up in the show notes. But is there anything else that we want to discuss before we wrap this up?
I think on my end, we're definitely going to have you back in before we get into leaf season and the winter months, just to hear about more in depth on what's going on with the snow plows and the leaf pickups. And we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, and then also, we also have not a full service shop, but we work on all the city vehicles, the police cars. That's another whole portion of Public Works that is usually behind the scenes as well. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for the work that you and your entire department does. We appreciate it, not only from the city staff perspective, but I know we hear, like you said, all the time residents who are very appreciative of what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Brings us to the end of another episode of the Ballwin Life podcast. Thanks for listening today. And as always, if you want to find out more information about the things that we discussed, you can visit the show notes for this episode, which you can find at www.ballwin.mo.us/podcast. And we didn't mention it earlier, Scott, but we have officially made it to double digits. This is the 10th episode.
The 10th episode. That's crazy to me that we're already 10 episodes in, and the 11th episode will drop next week.
No, actually, 2 weeks. So we're going to take a week off next week because Wednesday is the 4th of July. So happy Independence Day to everyone, and we'll resume a week after that. So
Sounds good. See you next time.